Good day and welcome to Music Motors. Welcome to the 2020 Volkswagen Golf. Now this one is a nice style, powered by a 1.5 litre petrol engine with cylinder deactivation technology. This one's got 150 PS, 250 Newton meters of torque, gets to 62 miles an hour in 8.5 seconds, tops out at 139 miles an hour. And with all of that, thanks to the cylinder deactivation technology, it can also get 60 miles to the gallon. The new Golf has had a significant platform upgrade, shall we say. New design, new style, and everything with a bit more technology. This one even has 17-inch alloy wheels, which for a relatively bottom-end vehicle is pretty substantial. So in this episode of Music Motors, I'm putting the new Golf to the test, finding out how it deals with city life, motorway life, everyday life. Stay tuned. Outside, the Golf has had a fairly substantial change since the last generation, the most noticeable part being the front end. Now, for some people, it's a little bit of a Marmite front end, i.e. they're not massive fans of it. And I can see where they're coming from, because it is totally different to the previous generation. It's very, very sharp. Now, Volkswagen over the years have been getting progressively sharper as they've been going along, but this has been more of an upgrade than ever before. Front end looks really nicely styled, really nicely brought together. This one finished in moonstone grey, an option. Really lovely look, and especially with the amount of chrome given with that kind of chrome-esque kind of wheels, powder coated, but you get where I'm coming from. It's a really lovely design. Now the side profile, unquestionably Volkswagen Golf. That bit hasn't really changed too much over the years, because realistically it can't. It's a shape and a platform. If it changes too much, it's no longer a Golf. But that side profile, as I said, 17-inch alloy wheels, non-diamond cut, which also means when you curb them it costs a little bit less to fix. But equally, these do look really good, and this is a style. These are standard, these 17s on the style, and they are quite stylish. Back end nicely changed, but actually that's closer to the previous generation. Again, it has been redesigned, but you can see quirks from the previous model in there. The exterior though, this is unquestionably Volkswagen. Strong styling throughout, good styling. Fits in nicely alongside all the other cars that use the same kind of design aesthetics, the same design language, but equally stands out enough that you know, well, that's definitely a Golf. And if you missed it, it says Golf on the back as well. Town-ish, fuel economy time, literally to see what this is like around town, what sort of economy it can turn, town-ish being the key to that, what sort of economy, what sort of comfort, and I'll summarise everything at the other end. So after that, a surprising 45 miles to the gallon. Now, whilst not the highest this can return at 57 miles to the gallon, it's also not the worst, which is 39 miles to the gallon. Now, all that said and done, is this a comfortable interior? Yes. Is the ride quality good? Yes, for around town. Visibility is good, the steering input's nice and light, everything's at your fingertips, and the sound system's pretty good. Heated seats for when it's extra cold. As a city test goes, well, this blitzed it, even though I didn't have that much heavy traffic. The inside of a Golf is probably one of the most important parts for a variety of reasons. The first one being that generally, and I'm not saying flat out, but generally a lot of Golfs are company cars, and as a result you probably spend quite a lot of time in them. If you're going to spend a lot of time inside a car, it needs to be pretty good, and Volkswagen have made sure it is pretty good. Quite comfortable. The seats are very comfortable with lumbar support. Not electric on this, but there is lumbar support on there. The driving position itself is quite comfortable, very adaptable. Everything is at your fingertips, with a lot of autonomous features as well, including when you're on the motorway, semi-autonomous driving. All at your fingertips. The infotainment's had a fairly substantial upgrade. This is the better nav and infotainment unit to have, and even though it's still got standard speakers, being Volkswagen Audi group, they're still pretty good. The one thing I would say though is that this kind of feels sort of over-engineered. This infotainment is a little too much at times. It's not as simple as before. There is more stuff to do on there, and a lot more menus on there as standard, but I just would have liked for it to have been as easy to use as the previous one was. Even as far as climate control is now not separate, it's all as part of one touchscreen unit. But driver controls wise, everything is quite literally there. A lot of stuff from previous generations moved over, everything you're going to see in a variety of Volkswagen products over the years. But it's nice to see that over here you've even got some climate controls. If you wanted maximum air on the windscreen, well, there's a button for there. Same if you want to heat up the rear windscreen, and because this one's got a winter pack, you've also got that element of an actual heated windscreen. Passenger wise though, this is actually quite good. Golfs have always been pretty good at fitting in a huge amount of space for a small area. So headroom wise, even with bigger hair, there's plenty of room left. Now your front passenger, has loads of legroom should they want it, but if you end up having someone in the back, obviously it ends up being pushed forward a little bit more, but by the same merit, it actually doesn't detract that much away from the front passenger. The rear legroom is really substantially better than you possibly could think would be achievable. Considering the fact that an A3 uses the same platform, I feel like the Volkswagen just does it better.
What can I do for you?
When you get to the rear of the car, you get into the boot, you suddenly realise the boot is a fantastic size for everyday life, with more than enough space to put everything you could possibly want. When you compare it to competitor vehicles in the segment, Volkswagen always, and I mean always, outdo in space. It is always so incredible how much they fit into such a tiny area. It's really incredible. The boot lip at the same point isn't so high, you end up scraping the bumper, so while some of the plastics in the back will get a whack as they get used over the years, it will generally withstand the test of time. And that kind of goes for the whole cabin. Yeah, there are some gloss black bits, but they're not areas which tend to get scuffed. The areas that tend to get scuffed have very atypical Volkswagen Audi Group plastics, which as a result means they last a very long time. Around town, this is quite a comfortable car to be in, quite quiet as an interior goes. On the motorway, exceptionally quiet, and then it becomes even more quiet when two of the cylinders turn themselves off. I may also add the fact that this display in front of the driver, extremely adaptive, very cool, lovely to be there. All the information's there as you want, but certain elements can't be adapted, which includes a fuel gauge. Maybe I'm just too used to an old school fuel gauge, but I haven't been able to find a way to do that, and it's a tiny little bugbear, but I'd actually really like to have a normal fuel needle, at least an option to be able to click and it ends up somewhere, but thus far not found it. Okay, motorway economy, plain and simple. What does this get on the motorway? How comfortable is it on the motorway? That's it, motorway test time. Well, I am absolutely shocked. Have a look at this. 64.4 miles to the gallon is pretty insane and very good, especially because considering on paper, Volkswagen say it can only get, at very best, 59.1 in WLTP testing cycle. 64.4. The other thing, when you come up to roundabouts, the adaptive cruise control and the whole system goes, well, you're coming up to a roundabout, warns you, and then starts taking pressure off the accelerator, just getting you prepared for it. It's pretty comfortable. There is a bit of road noise, but it's not overwhelming. The sound system more than makes up for it. It's very easy to drive. The semi-autonomous driving is really good, and to consider this isn't a £50,000 car, it's a sub £30,000 car. As motorway tests go, that's pretty astonishingly good. Now, performance-wise, as I said, 150 PS, 250 newton meters of torque, which means 62 in 8.5 seconds, a top speed of 139 miles an hour, and cylinder deactivation technology. And you know what that means? Economy. So Volkswagen claim that this can get anywhere between 39 and 59 miles to the gallon. And as I found, it can actually get over that 59 miles to the gallon. If you were just sat on the motorway at 65 miles an hour, you're going to achieve more like 65 miles to the gallon, which is just madness, absolutely mad. Generally, you'll find yourself getting 43.7 combined no matter how you drive this car. Economy really is a good point of this, and it's not something, 5 years ago I would have thought I would have been saying about a 1.5 litre petrol, but this really does a fantastic job. Now, coming away from that into the performance, this is still a Golf through and through. The dynamic handling is still really, really good. Whilst there aren't any actual drive computers to change things, the base driving characteristic of this car is really, really good, which means throwing it into corners, it has a really nice response. The gearbox has a lovely feel. The steering is lovely and weighted. This is a Golf through and through, and it drives just like you expect it to. In fact, it's slightly better than a previous generation. That said, maybe I'd like a little bit more. Maybe it could have driven even better still than what the previous generation could do. Volkswagen have made some incredible improvements recently, but this, I feel like it could have been even better to drive if they hadn't spent so much time developing their amazing new electric cars. Those, by all record, are actually fantastic to drive, and where everyone thinks a lot of the technologies ended up going in. But by all means, at the same point, this is still a fantastic car to drive, and the technology you get as a driver is fantastic. Forward collision assist. I mean, when you're on the motorway, the autonomous driving is fantastic to the extent that it goes, you've got a roundabout coming up, I'm going to start, taking the throttle off now so you don't go into it too fast. It spots things all the time. So as a driver goes, if you're doing long distance stuff, no matter how tired you get, the car is going to make sure you get to the other end in one piece. Outside, I think this is a really, really lovely looking car and a great update to the previous generation. I love it. I really do like it, and especially in this colour. Inside, you find this comfortable, reliable filled with technology and the exact build quality that you expect of a Volkswagen Audi product. It's a lovely, lovely place to be, and whilst it isn't all shouting luxurious, it does a very good job of being, very, very good. And performance-wise, 150 PS is more than acceptable. 8.5 to 62 is more than acceptable. And 139 miles an hour top speed is more than acceptable. The price, which is the bit that you've probably been waiting for, £26,000 base. This one's 28k with quite a few options on it, including that winter pack and the big infotainment and stuff. Everything is just acceptable. And yeah, I do agree with a lot of the comments that say perhaps this could have been better. But that doesn't detract away from the fact that this is genuinely a very, very good car. Be it that you need it as a city car, a motorway car, a works car, a family car. It's built and designed to be able to do everything very, very well.